Hi, I'm Lady Lex UK and this is a Dreams tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at creating a run button and also a cooldown for that run. So here we have our puppet. This will work with both the sliding puppet and also the normal mannequin, the tall one, or any puppet really. So what we're going to do is we're going to scope in and we're going to open up the tweak menu from the purple base. This is the tweak menu for the puppet itself, and then we're also going to open up the puppet logic and the controller logic, because we're going to put everything in the controller panel here, because this is where our buttons are. Right, so first of all, when you first get this puppet, I think it has 3.5 or something like that for a run speed for the puppet. You want to get rid of that, put that down to 0. Then we're going to create our keyframe, which is going to turn our run on. Now I'm going to put the run up to 4. I think that's a decent enough speed, and there is our keyframe. Now the first run we're going to attempt is where you have to hold down a button while you run. So we're going to use R1. So that's a nice, easy, nice feel button for a run. Some people use the left stick button and things like that, but I find that really uncomfortable. So I think R1 or L1 is a better option for a run mechanic. But it's entirely up to you which button you use, but we're using R1 today. Okay, so there we go. And so the puppet will walk, and it doesn't matter how hard I push up on the stick, you won't go any faster. This is it, unless I hold R1. If I let go, you'll go back to walking space, R1, and he'll run. R1 on its own without pushing the stick, he won't move. So it's a combo move there, and that works perfectly. So there we go. That's the simplest run mechanic you can do, and that's it. It's as simple as that. You just need a keyframe to change the speed up there, and a link from the R1 button. Now let's do it with a toggle. Now if you saw the tap and double tap tutorial that I did recently, then you will know this already. So we're going to put in a signal manipulator. So we're going to take that wire and we're going to put it in there. Let's put that wire in there. We're going to go to custom remapper and press toggle output at on. So now that's a toggle. So instead of holding down R1, I can press R1, and that gives me my run option. I'll press R1 again, and we're back to just being able to walk. Don't forget, you can still walk even with R1 activated if you just move your joystick slightly less. So there we go. So that's a toggle. So we're going to use a toggle, but we're not going to use the signal manipulator now. I'm going to create a cooldown, and then I'm going to do it in 2 stages. So first of all, I'm going to put down a counter, and I'm going to wire that to R1. And this is basically doing exactly the same as the manipulator. So what it's doing is we are toggling on this run option with this counter. Now this is a permanent thing at the moment, so if I press R1, as soon as I press R1, then it's permanently available. I won't be able to turn it off at this point. This is turning on run, and you'll constantly run. So now I'm going to put in a timer, and this is set to current time at 0, target time of 5 seconds, and this is going to be started at the same time as our keyframe. And when the timer is finished, I'm going to reset this counter. So what this will do is it will give you 5 seconds of running, and then it will turn itself off. So if I press R1, I can run, and then after 5 seconds he'll start walking again, and I'll have to press R1 again to get him to walk. So that's the first cooldown. And so that we can see it much easier, I'm going to put in some text gadgets as well, just so you can see when I press the button. So there we go. So that's a bit of text that tells when it's running. But I'm going to put in another cooldown. So instead of going directly from this counter to the keyframe that's going to make it run and the text displayer, I'm going to put in another counter. So when you press R1, it sets off this counter, which sets off this timer, but it also sets off this counter, which was now wired into our keyframe and our text displayer. Whoops, sorry, I pressed reset. Right, you now need another timer. And this is going to be set to the time of the run plus our cooldown time. So I'm going to make it easy and make it 10 seconds. So it's 5 seconds of running and 5 seconds of cooldown. So I'm going to change that to 10. And that's going to be set off at the same time as this one. Except this is going to do a lot more different things now. So this timer, it's set for 5 seconds, and then after the 5 seconds is finished, instead of going back to this and resetting this one, we're going to reset this one. So this is just going to turn off our run, but it's not going to activate our R1 button, which is what this counter does. Instead, we're going to wait for this one, and when this is finished, this is going to reset the count. And it's also going to reset its own timer, and it's also going to reset this timer. So let's have a look and see what that is doing. So when you press R1, it sets off this counter, which sets off our keyframe so we can run, and we've got a text displayer saying run. I'm going to create a new text displayer now that says cooldown. And we want that one to display when this timer has finished. But we don't want it a pulse, we want a signal. So we're going to go for that one. So until this one is reset, it's going to play the cooldown text. And it's only reset once this is finished doing its thing. Okay, so this is gonna run this timer. When the 5 seconds is up, it's then going to show this text cooldown, and when the 10 seconds is up, that's going to reset everything. It's going to go reset get that wire over there so you can see it. It's going to reset itself, and it's going to reset our main R1 counter like so. So let's play that and see what happens. So I press R1 and I can run. It says so I'll run. And now we're in cooldown, and I'm pressing R1 and I'm not running. It's not giving me the option. Now the cooldown is finished and I can press R1 again. And now we can run. And then we're in cooldown. And then we can run again. So how long you want to give everybody will depend on these two counters here, on these two timers here. Sorry. So that's 5 seconds of running, and that's 5 seconds of cooldown. So that's a 10, and that's a 5. But you can have any numbers that you want in here. As long as this one is a longer time than this one, this will all work. So there you go. So there's run, very simple run, a slightly more complicated run, and here we have the even more complicated cooldown system. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in your dreams.